All right, here we are back again on a Saturday, a little after 5 o'clock, and looks like it's July 28th, 2012. And today we're going to go take a look at the far side of the moon. Here it is already. Once again in true color, which was available for download on the internet, and it's just a 3-color band representation, red, green, and blue again. So you see there's a lot of light white and kind of tannish brown, and then darker browns where the cursor is now. Some hints of blue, apparently, some very dark features. Some with some strange geometry, this line edge type of thing with a circular or diamond shaped looking thing in the middle and some edges. That's kind of interesting. So is this over here. I never looked at this in my life till a few days ago, and so now it's kind of maybe the second time I've really looked at it, and I thought I'd go ahead and record that because the first time I did, I found some interesting things, and I may find a few more this time. I may not. I may forget what I found the first time. I'm not sure, but already, these dark things jump out, and these shapes jump out. This edge-looking thing jumps out. Then I see the same kind of blurry artifacts as in the near side of the moon from the same imagery set, and here there's a more pronounced features where there's a white cap with a central, circle around it, and then these lines that go out radially. You see that all over this imagery. Circle, lines, 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 circle, lines, circle, lines, circle, lines, like the spokes of a wheel. Or again, it looks, immediately to me, it looks like travel over ground that would carve a path would do that. And then if you have between two prominent features, like you see here between this one and this one, I mean, that's a pretty obvious line, I would say. Whatever it is, I don't know, but that would be my first level of guess, is something has carved a path onto the surface through repeated travel over a long period of time. And then down here, I'm guessing they've oriented this the right way, that is, if there is such a thing, the north-south, north being on top, south on the bottom, east to the right, west to the left. I don't even know that for a fact. Sometimes they'll rotate the imagery in funny ways, I hear, and present it in a way that's a little misleading or confusing. I don't know about this one, but since I've never seen the back of the moon, and I'm guessing most people haven't unless they've looked at this imagery or some other presentation like this, well, here it is. And if these are paths, they're more pronounced than on the near side. And then the next obvious thing for anybody that's seen the other presentation, I don't see the blues and greens that I see on the near side, the side that we see, and the side that receives sunlight. I guess that's going to be a key factor. If you're going to have plants, you're going to need some sunlight, so it's almost expected you wouldn't see big swaths of green here on the back side of the moon. If in fact they were plants on the front, then they're not going to be able to grow on the back. They're not going to have enough sunlight. Down here there are those cyan colors, and once again you see the little circular things all over that are just like what's on the front side. A circular disc type element that isn't particularly crater-like in some cases. I mean, it seems like, these are obviously craters, and you can see the illumination around the edge isn't the same. It's not the same bright white all around the edge, and the center is darker, but there's generally no center thing in a lot of these of any particular interest. But then in some there are. And then sometimes you see crater over crater over crater. That's interesting, just from the explanation of things are hitting the moon from space and making craters over its lifetime. So that completely ties into the popular stories being told by the authorities and the educational institutions. But then there's other stuff that maybe they don't put as much attention on. Possibly ignore, possibly lie about or cover up, whatever. I don't know too much about that in depth, but from what I'm learning, nothing's going to surprise me too much. So let's go to full scale and see what that looks like. So now each pixel it's at the maximum zoom in level without pixelating, I think is the easy way to say it. 100% zoom in. We can start in the top northwest corner and just have a look, see what kind of features we see, and what kind of interest we may have in them. Well, here's these artifacts again. This time it's got some triangular shape and some edge line shape, which is again possibly a way that a sensor, an imaging sensor, could malfunction. I don't know for sure. That's a little interesting. This crater's interesting. Let's grab the eyedropper and see what kind of colors this is. This actually looks like it does have a little green or blue in it. And I've set our sample rate to 3 by 3 pixel average. Let's bring up the info palette, wherever it may be. There it is. And I think you'll all be able to see this. Well, let's bring it down a little. Put it right next to it. That should do it. So take a look at the red, green, and blue. Let's go over to where it looks greenish. Oh, that is, look, 101 green and a lot of blue, like blue-green. Now, what's typically blue-green? Blue-green algae. You know, that's a typical blue-green thing. That's signatures of blue and green. And then, of course, shallow water with algae in it is blue-green at the same time. And the red is lower, but not so low. So that actually makes sense in really shallow water. You could have enough light get through the water and back out and still have red in it if it's shallow enough, and if the surface below it is bright enough. And this crater looks pretty bright. This is bright right here. And this looks kind of smooth and flat relative to the surface around it. So this is an interesting crater. Like if you could go fly around the moon in your own spacecraft, it might be kind of fun to go zoom in on that and see what it is. It's not that green though. I mean, it's not as green as the near side, but it's more blue and green at the same time. But that color's probably not too far off. See, that's more green than any other color though at the same time, so that's interesting. Let's go ahead and move down and see what happened. There's our white cap that was to the northwest, and the lines coming out of it, this trail. And again, I can't really zoom in further. I can, but then we'll start to pixelate. That's 1 zoom level, that's 2. Now we're at 300%. And you start to not see exactly because you see the edge effects are coming in. So my preference is to not kid yourself, essentially. And this is as good as it gets. You know, if you were zooming in with binoculars or with a telescope, there's a point. You can't zoom in any further. That's this point. So, but we have the circular stuff here again. It looks like some of it may have a central area casting a shadow. And at some point I have to look up what the scale on this imagery is. I still don't know that. That is, how big is all this stuff? How high up was the camera, and how big is each pixel, essentially? So there's the rest of that line going into this crater. This crater is actually a little covered up by this blurring effect again. And this looks like it's even got a little notch in the outer rim and possibly something in the center. And the outer rim on this is pretty well bright, so I'm still not sure why that happens so often up there. And then you get this stuff where it's a very, very bright circle with a dark center. Very bright circle, dark center, bright circle, dark center. That's certainly all over, wherever you look. But it's not all you see. Then you get this, which is all kind of a monotone color, but it's similar features. So I guess if it's all craters, that could explain it. It's possible. So as I move down here, oh, I'm just seeing a feature to the right that's not on screen right now that we'll go over to in a second. It is kind of interesting. I guess last time I was playing music and thinking, since I'm recording stuff, it's okay to play a little music that you know, is in my personal collection. Maybe I'll fire up some tunes. Here's an interesting thing. Let's bring the info down to it. See if I can get it. There are some almost pixel-sized cyan-colored dots. There it is, right there. You can kind of see. It's only a 3x3 sample, but if you look at the C here for cyan again, then when I get on that dot, you're gonna see it goes to 84% cyan. That's pretty. And again, cyan is kind of a green and blue at the same time color. If you look at the red, green, blue, you'll see that. Cyan's way up there at 83%. But if you're on the red, green, blue scale or interpretation, green and blue are close to equal. So there you go. There's cyan dots all over the backside of the moon. Again, is partly why I bring that up. You can find them all over the place. Here's a bigger example. Not even a dot in this case. This actually looks like it has a little shape right there. It's got almost a little bit of a rectangular shape, and even a dark rim around it. And it doesn't look like it's big enough to be covered by any of this blurry area, but if I get the sampler right over it, you can see once again green and blue are way up there, no red, and cyan way up there. So that kind of tells you that's the color that it is. Now let's go over and take a look to the right, to what I'm thinking of as the southeast, because I guess I'm at the bottom already. Up here somewhere, see if I can find that feature I saw just a little while ago. Let's zoom out. What I saw was, oh, there it is. There it is, right here next to the info. Now that I've shuffled around, look at this thing. It's dark all the way around here, much darker than most of the rest of the areas you see. There are other areas that are similar in their darkness. Again, if you want to look for darkness, K is black. That will give you a pretty good idea if you're looking at info. So that's got almost no K, no black, and this has 64% K. Pretty black, pretty dark. And then red, green, and blue are very low. Whoop, that actually is like 798 right there. So almost no signal. Close to black, not quite. So what's in the middle here? Another cyan thing. Here we can zoom in just to, it's going to pixelate, but we'll zoom back out here in a second. And just to show that right here again, there's this very, very cyan, you know, right in the middle. Look at green and blue. Green and blue are actually saturated right there. They're on this scale, on the 8-bit scale. It go. Some people certainly know this. For those that don't, it goes from the value of 0 to 255. And so if it's at 0, obviously there's no signal. And the maximum signal you can record is 255. After that, you can't record how much stronger than 255 it is. It just maxes out, and that's it. So here you can see, if you look at the G and the B on the RGB scale, in the top left on that info box, so you can see the G and the B are maxed out, 255. It is 256 technically, but 0 is the beginning of the scale. So there's 256 values. 0 is one of them. And 8 bits is just 2 to the 8th power, which makes 256 if you do the calculation. So anyway, it's a feature that's interesting. It's actually got a strange shape in a way too. It's got like a prong and then an indentation, then a prong, then more flat, a little indentation, prong, indentation. Don't know what that is. It's not particularly colored. It's very uniform dark, as opposed to on the other side of the moon where it looked like there may be water. There was green and blue and no red. This has uniform nothing. It's very equally colored. So whatever that is, it actually does also seem to have magenta pixels. Let's see if we can let it pixelate as much as it wants and find a magenta pixel. See what I mean? Right here's there's this cyan center point Right there is kind of almost purple. Look at the red there. The red's actually bumping up huge. So there you go. It does have that color. It's red, purple, more red almost. So that's interesting. We got very, very cyan and very, very red right there. Especially this pixel here. Go figure. Don't know. So if I go back to normal unpixelated scale, we can see again we got another place here. We'll zoom in on this. Let's bring our info box over with us. We can look at it. And actually what I'm probably gonna have to do, let's try it. Zoom in and then move the scenery. Let's just move it to the middle. Make it easy. Okay. So here we have a circular thing, very bright. There we go. We can see, look at the RGB. They're almost all at max, 255. You know, that is bright. That's saturated. So that's so bright that relative to the rest of the scenery, it's reflecting essentially all the light that hits it. Or it's actually been the opposite. I talked about on the other video that if you want, you can zero out data. So, you know, I did some algorithm development. If you want to find some particular feature, and if you're able to select it mathematically somehow, then you could, if you felt like it, just turn all that data into zeros and then spit that imagery out and give it to the public. If you're trying to hide something like water or something. So another way you could do it is turn it all into white here. You could, instead of going all zeros, turn it all into maximum. And again, now you've lost all the data. If you look, there's RGB is all at 255, so max. But if you look at CMYK, they're all at 0. So either way is the same. You have no information really, except if there's truth to the maximum values in the red, green, blue, then this is a very, very bright object. Possibly something like ice or metal or something extremely reflective and very white, not colored in any particular way. So again, my look at this is just to share what I'm seeing. I'm not really trying to go too far into saying what I think for sure anything is, but just to give some first take analysis and see what other people think. Maybe if we look down here, I've spotted a couple other interesting pixels while I was saying that, and it looked like there was some colors every so often. There's a little blue type of thing. Yep. Look at the B, a little more blue than average. Here's a little more green than average. Dark, but has some green to it. And then I noticed here, kind of see this crater? Go around the crater, let your eye follow it, and then you look at this here, bam. Red as could be. Actually very blue, so that red and blue saturating, I think, is the magenta type of look. Let's see if we get a closer look at this. Where'd it go? Sometimes you zoom in and you lose everything. Oh, look at this. That's not green as could be, though. So I was thinking there's no vegetation, and that may be true. But right here, I'll bring this to everyone's attention. We're pixelating now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, on the order of 6 pixels. I'm not sure what the scale is, but that's very green. The G is saturating, and equally so, this is very blue. Look at the B. It's no red, no green, all blue. So there, we have some really, really blue stuff in this area. And look here, this is really, really white and saturated. So again, if we had a little spacecraft, I'd like to go take a look at this area, fly over, see why is this green, what is it, what is all this blue. And even if you notice above the info here, look at how yellow this is. And now we do have a measure of yellow with the Y here, CMYK. Yellow is going to be your predominant number on that scale here, 29, 42. You got to be sure you get it right over it. There's not many pixels there. I guess those are the ones. 42. It's a little stronger there than the blue, but it's definitely yellow. More yellow than any other color. So Interesting. Let's see if I can find that red thing again. Then we'll just maybe consider wrapping this up for now. A little trip to the back side of the moon on a Saturday afternoon. Let's see. I can't find that. I'm zooming out. We'd zoomed in. There we go. We're pretty zoomed out. I guess I need to go back to... I'm zoomed out too far, Captain. Let's go to pixel scale. And if I don't find that red thing, no big deal. I mean, if you saw it the first time, it was on the edge of a crater rim or the circular part of a rim of something. And now I'm seeing new features that are catching my eye, so let's just forget that. And what is this here? See this shape? Kind of meandering, right? Kind of a poolish in shape. Then there's this rim thing, then there's this dark flat area, then there's this bright white thing. Kind of interesting. Now I'm guessing, yeah, that's as blue as it looks. We can let it pixelate again, zoom in, see if we can, if we keep everything centered, let's see what happens. That might help us out. That being me helping everyone look at this. Now here, if this is the back side of the moon, which it is, we haven't seen much green, right? But now there is some extremely blue parts again. And these have an interesting meandering shape to them. That's kind of blue, blue, blue. Blue, blue, blue. Up here's blue. You can't see it on the info anymore. Maybe down here you can. Yep. Look at the B is 89. G is 30, so 3 to 1. No red. 3 times stronger in blue than green. Here's another one. Bam! This is actually saturating blue. So it's 2.5 times stronger in blue than green, and blue is saturated. So, without saying what that is, it has an interesting shape, an interesting meandering shape, you know. It reminds me, I've seen communities where you have water around the neighborhood, you know, where you build around the water so you can have your boats or whatever. I'm not saying that's what this is. It's just what it reminds me of when I take a first look at it. And then, of course, anything that's super bright white in a line like this, I'm curious. I guess you can't see the super bright white. Let's do it this way. Super bright white there. And then dark all around it. That's 0. So, you know, these features are what catch my eye. This looks like a very high feature with shadow behind it, would be one explanation. Here's the top ridge, and it's very bright, and here's the dark area behind it. If the imagery was sampled at times of day where it was typically going to be a shadow back here, then on average you're going to get a very dark area here and a very bright area here. So maybe that's what that is. Here's interesting. You're almost getting browner tones, like mid-tones, and almost peachy salmon tones. A little bit more red there. But these colors, you know, they're not random. They represent something. That's what, you know, I keep in my mind. When it's a certain color, I don't know what it is. But I do know that the color comes from something. And the nature of something being one color versus another gives you some clue that it's different than the other things around it as a basic level of logic. Here again, as I say that, I'm looking over here. There are some green pixels. There's a greener. See the G? It's bigger. It's a little bit more green. Here's a pretty green one there. So there's little patches of green there. Now what would that be if you had your little colony? Let's say that water was waterfront property in the prime real estate on the backside of the moon, right? And this is where the playground is, or the nice neighborhoods and the playground. Who knows? Maybe you play golf for all. Maybe these little green things are the golf courses. 1 pixel. That'd be about right, you know. It's barely there, and it's. I guess if you've listened to Richard Hoagland and others, then maybe it's under its own glass dome back there, so you could do your artificially lit green areas. You know, give yourself a little sense of back home on Earth. And then you'd have your artificial light. The cyan light could be the artificial light. The blue could be, for that matter. So, anyway, it's probably none of that. You know, it's probably some completely natural explanation that you could ask NASA and they would have a textbook explanation for you. But I just don't know that I believe a lot of the crap I hear coming out of the agencies. Not that everybody's full of it, but you know, so many are, it's hard to tell who isn't, I guess, is the problem. So I won't go off on that any further. Let's take a quick scan over. Maybe I'll come back to the far side of the moon, because there's more to see here as I look through. I'm not going to stop in and visit any particular features. I'm just kind of scrolling by. But I think, if I recall correctly, I didn't find it this time. Last time I looked, I had found some more white-colored meandering features. It looked like it would be similar to a dry riverbed, where it has the serpentine look, and yet has no blue color. It's more bright, like it's a carved-out bed, and it's you know, possible. But this time I didn't see that, so I'm not going to try and find it now. That's probably enough rambling. I've said a few things about what the back of the moon has to offer. Here's an interesting feature. We'll wrap it up with this. Oh, I can't even go any. I was going to bring the info, but it's not really the color. It's just the shape. It almost looks like a giant pyramid. I mean, it really doesn't, because I think it's more of a natural feature, and it has a lot of the roughness of the terrain around it. It's just got an interesting color scheme. This is really dark, and it's triangular. It's the triangle pointiness of this, and this edge, and this edge, and this edge that catch my eye. But who knows what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and upload the video. See you in cyberspace.